He's got the Wednesday slot this week. There he is right there. He's getting ready to go coach football. Giving back. I love it. I love it.
Gotta do it.
Big news, Farhan. Just a little while ago, Dave Thomas texts in. Campbell Fair will be kicking footballs in Ottawa for the Riders, and Brett Lauther is not playing.
It doesn't surprise me. They brought him in a month ago. I was there the week that they made the move when Saskatchewan was in Calgary for a game. And look, we all like Brett Lauther. He's had a long, successful history in Saskatchewan, and they tried to show him as much loyalty as they possibly could. But at the end of the day, the other 50 guys in the room are the ones you need to show more loyalty to, and it's affected games in the last month, probably more than that. The last probably 6-7 weeks, it's had a material effect on games. It's had a material effect on coaching decisions. He's clearly lost confidence. It's not to say he's got a lifetime of yips. You could do it next year again, and you could come back and you could go through this again, but. I think that Brett Lauther needs to sit down and, again, I don't think his career is over, but this is the right thing for that room to look at other opportunities. And I wouldn't be surprised, quite frankly, if they had kicked the tires around the league. I mean, would you be surprised, and I don't know if this has happened, but would you be surprised if Saskatchewan reached out to Ottawa and said, hey, did we get a Lewis Ward for a little bit here? Like, with Ottawa selling off Lorenzo Malden, I wonder if that call happened, because they should be looking. And Jeremy O'Day's a smart guy. This is a good team, a special season. You got to maximize it.
Farhan, from the game last week, now there's a lot of reasons why the Riders didn't end up winning. I mean, there was the long ball in the secondary. There was the 6 points Lauther left on the field. There was the inconsistency on offense, which seems something Trevor Harris is off. It's a combination of things. Now, Lauther's not going to play this week. Campbell Fair. You got a brand new punter, though. So you got a brand new place kicker and a punter that's going to be in his second game. You've seen a lot of football. You coach football. The holder place kicker combination is not easy. It takes a long time to get down pat. So the Rider fans need to be patient with Campbell Fair on Friday in Ottawa if things don't necessarily go great out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, if you can attribute it to that particular part of the issue, right, the entire three-part battery. I'll give you an example. Last year in BC, BC's current punter is a guy named Carl Meyer. Carl Meyer, last year in practice, was kicking the crap out of the football. Like, every kick was amazing, a thing of beauty. And the Lions were trotting out Stefan Flintoff, who wasn't nearly as good. And we could see it in practice on a daily basis. It was clear he wasn't nearly as good. But Stefan Flintoff was also the holder for Sean White, and Sean White at that time was on some kind of heater. So they weren't willing to mess with that, so they sacrificed their punting distance in order to protect the comfort level of the place kicker. So now you go through the offseason and you get a chance to build it up in training camp, and everything's worked well. But to your point, don't minimize just how important that is. And right now it's not working altogether, so I don't think they've got a lot to lose. But you're right. If you're a fan, be patient with Campbell, because it might not all be on him.
Riders run into a desperate Edmonton team. We talked about it last week. Again, Ottawa's as desperate as they get too. Maybe some guys are half packed. Some guys are, already have plane tickets out of town. But the Riders lose in Edmonton. And it was never going to be a slam dunk. When you watch that game and the slow start again for the Riders, can you put your finger on why?
Yeah, it's hard, right? And I know that they've got some moving parts offensively, because, you've had so many injuries in the receiving corps, and it's amazing what Corey Mason's been able to do, and Mark Mueller, to make sure that offense still is operated at a fairly high level all the way through. And obviously Trevor Harris deserves some credit there too. But it still does have an adjustment, even when you're bringing better players back or experienced players back, like a Sam Emilus or what have you. So it just doesn't look as smooth and as crisp as it did early in the year. But honestly, I look at this team defensively as where the slow starts come from, because in earlier games, they've made such big plays defensively, whether it be a turnover, whether it be a sack, whether it be a tackle for loss, whatever it's been. And I think that's got the offense going. And I think that is kind of an area that they need to get back to. And I know that they've had some change in the secondary that's cost them at times, not necessarily last week, but the week before. So I think once their defense becomes that that hungry group again. I think it's gonna. I think you're going to see it pay off offensively as well with field position and momentum. But I don't think that Ottawa is going to be nearly as hungry as Edmonton. I was asked whether or not I felt the passing of Larry Thompson and all that was going to have an effect, and I'm not sure that going into it, I didn't think it would, just because there wasn't necessarily a huge history there, but it seemed to have. And I think with Ottawa, they're so far away. They've got to win out. They've got to hope everybody in front of them loses. They've got to hope there's no crossover. I just think the mountain is so big in Ottawa that they are half-packed.
Farhan, you mentioned the defense of the Riders. Now, a lot of people, just because he's the Defensive Player of the Year, they just stay away from Roland Milligan. Is he a guy, in your opinion, that has to go be that game breaker again? They're staying away from you, but you got to go disrupt. You got to be the guy that starts this if you are the guy in that Rider defense.
Yeah, I think so. But really, for me, all this stuff starts with a pass rush. And in the case of Roland Milligan, he's not as productive as he was last year. And I do see some moments where teams aren't necessarily afraid of him. I don't think they're going after him on a regular basis. But I don't know that, the numbers don't tell me the teams are staying away from him the way you might expect given the season he had. Second half of last year, absolutely teams stayed away from him after what he did in the first half. So I don't think they're necessarily as afraid of him. For me, I think it starts with the pass rush. Like, go look at Calgary last year, right? And when you look at the Stampeders, this year, not last year. When you look at the Stampeders, the first half of the season, you've got this defense that's got 12 new players, and you've got 3 new starters, like first-time starters in the secondary, and they're holding up. Why are they holding up? Because of an amazing pass rush. And now they're not getting the pass rush, and their secondary gets exposed a little bit at times. And I think that could happen in Saskatchewan as well. When they're on defensively, it starts with the pass rush. As much as, they've had injuries at the corner, and we know how good Roland Milligan is, for me, it starts and finishes with what they're doing up front. And when they can get home with more regularity, when they can affect the pass with more regularity, Roland Milligan looks better. Everybody in the back end looks better.
Sam Emilus comes back. Obviously a boost, solid player. The 2-point convert, there is some confusion there with Harris and a Joe and probably an option route of some sort. Do you feel, though, since a Joe's come back from the NFL, that there's just something missing there from him?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, honestly, Barney's expectations. And, when he came back, everybody expected so much given how he finished last year. And so yeah, we're just expecting more. And it doesn't look as comfortable. And I think they're playing him in different spots than maybe where they did last year. Now, I certainly don't blame them for maybe putting him in ahead of a Mitch Picton or a Tommy Neal at various times. And, you think there's more there athletically, but those guys have had a comfort level with the offense from the first day of the season. So I do think that's fair. But I do think there's also some time to get it back and get where they need to before the playoffs, because he does physically make them better. Emilus physically makes them better, but it is going to take a while for these guys to all gel because they've missed extended time. And you're going to get it with Robistelli soon too.
Yeah.
Key and Schaefer.
Farhan, not only did the Riders lose on Saturday, but for the rest of Rider Nation, a couple of things that made us feel uncomfortable. The Winnipeg Bombers looked good dismantling Hamilton, and then your BC Lions. That offense is clicking, and they're playing a little bit of defense, and Matthew Betts is looking unstoppable again. And I'm like, and Calgary just could not get out of their own way. And all marks to BC for that victory. It was dominant over Calgary. The Stamps didn't have a chance.
Yeah, they didn't, and it was much closer against Toronto the following week. But their offense didn't look as clean. But you look at BC's offense, and they have scored over 30 points in 8 of their last 10 games, right? Like, their offense, for the most part, is dynamite. You talk about Winnipeg, they looked fantastic in the last game. But it's one game, right? Like, it's been a while since the offense has looked that good. I know Zach Collaros came back, and that's obviously the biggest game changer. But even earlier with Zach, it didn't necessarily look as clean. So I want to see them do it again. I think they've got the ability to do it again, but I need to see them do it again. When it comes to the Lions, like I said, offensively they've been real good, and to your point, the last 3 to 4 games defensively they've taken it to another level, and Matthew Betts has been the catalyst for that. And then they've also added a couple of other pieces. The personnel staff has Ryan Rigmaiden and company at the defensive line with Levon Bell and Bradley Anai, and now those guys have made an instant impact, whereas before none of them were up front. So their defense is looking better. So we talked about how that affects the secondary. TJ Lee was not good a year ago. And I know he's coming back off the injury, but he was showing his age. Now TJ Lee's coming back. All of a sudden they get a pass rush, and everybody in the secondary, including TJ Lee, looks really good, right, at this point. So much of this game is played up there. And here's the other thing with BC. Their offensive line, so we know how good Nathan Ork is. They've got 2 of the top 4 receivers in the league in Hatcher and McInnes. They've got the leading rusher in the league in James Butler. And now, last game, they lost Jarrell Broxton, who, for my money, has been the best offensive lineman in the league this year. And they lost him for a week, but he'll be back after the bye. Dejon Allen, who's missed almost the entire season with an early bicep injury, is also coming back after the bye. So next week, they're going to have a bye, and then the week after that, they're going to get those 2 tackles back in place. And when you watch BC practice, which I get to do a couple times a week, you can see what Buck Pierce is doing with that offense. And they brought in Xander Horvath, that big back, to be a changeup. They're playing with more tight end looks. They're getting ready for winter football on the prairies, guys. So, if they go to Saskatchewan or if they go to Winnipeg,
don't tell us that.
You watch what they're doing in practice, and maybe they can do it differently.
We don't need that scouting report. But can you send video from your phone next week when you're there? Any advantage we can get, please start sending it through. We'll set up a private Slack channel. Just fire raw video. We'll take it.
I asked Darian this. I asked Darian this on Monday, and I'll throw it to you. A little bit difficult. Someone's giving you a free sprinkle right now, a free bet. Right now, you got a place it. Who are we going to see in the Grey Cup?
I said at the beginning of the year, Saskatchewan and Montreal would play in the Grey Cup, and I'm going to stick to that. Montreal with Davis Alexander is awesome. They are a much better team with him. He makes everybody better. He makes the defense better. He makes everybody better. And we saw it in the last game. They're going to win the East, in my mind, without question. And I think BC can give Saskatchewan a run, but I still like Saskatchewan. I think they're the most complete team in the West.
I like that you're sticking with it. What do you think of that Kaprizov signing? Let's move to hockey here. Isn't that a number? What's Connor McDavid's thoughts? What's Hughes thinking right now?
Yeah, and we're talking about that in Vancouver about Quinn Hughes because you saw what his brother just got at $9 million a year, and I think the best case scenario for the Canucks on a Quinn Hughes deal is to potentially get a bridge deal. Like, there's no way he's going to sign, a 7, 8, 9 year deal. 3 to 4 might be their best case scenario right now, and if that happens, now you're talking about crazy money. You're talking about a $20 million deal, or whatever it's gonna take. So. And I think McDavid, best case scenario in Edmonton is that he signs a bridge deal, right? I don't think you're going to get extended term there because he still has questions. So you're going to have to overpay to get him on a shorter term deal, which protects you long term financially, but it hurts in terms of just the comfort level of an entire market to have players that matter that much. I mean, we know McDavid's the best player in hockey. Hughes is arguably the best player to ever play for the Vancouver Canucks, right? I mean, you can make that case. So both markets got their eyebrows raised big time after Kaprizov.
So many people are like yesterday. It's like, who is Kaprizov? Like what? Because no one watches Minnesota play. Like you don't sit down in your NHL package and be like, oh, I can't wait to watch this Wild game.
I'm gonna tell you honestly, with the amount I'm invested in football, it is so rare for me to watch a hockey game prior to the playoffs that doesn't involve the Vancouver Canucks. Yeah. I pay attention to the Pacific. But anything outside of that, forget about it for me. I got too much football going on.
What did you think about them finally going into the Okanagan and naming that as where they're going to do the games?
I think it's great. I like what they've done on the island. I think they've really worked that market the last couple of years. And, the Lions have had training camp in Kamloops every year. But Kelowna is just a fantastic place, right? So they're going to go in there. They're going to basically rebuild the Apple Bowl temporarily. And it's going to be somewhere between 17 and 20,000 seats. And I'm telling you, the highways to get up to the Okanagan at that time of the year, which is before forest fire season, they are going to be some packed. Because if you needed an excuse to get up there, nobody does, because it is God's country. It's going to be two fantastic events, and I'm excited to see what they're doing, right? Like, I mean, a lot of criticism in Toronto has been laid out for what's happening there, and that they're not making the same level of effort and trying to grow the game province-wide. Amar Doman is not that guy. He is fully invested, and the province has gotten behind it, helping out financially as well. Because it's certainly not the Lions' fault they got displaced, but it's going to be a lot of fun up in Kelowna. You guys should come down, man. It's going to be awesome.
We can't even go to Swift Current, so... maybe
they get to play Saskatchewan. I know the Lions are hoping that it's going to be Edmonton and Calgary because it's such an easy commute for their fans to get out there for those games. But I'd love to see Saskatchewan come out.
Oh, it's going to be good. It's a good call, and I think it just made sense. I know you got to go coach football here. We appreciate you jumping on today and doing this, and then we'll regroup next week.
Thanks,
All right,
Coach.
Jets,
Call the
good luck
Philly,
this weekend. Have a good one.
Call the Philly special twice in practice.
Sounds good.
Bounce pass. See you, Farhan. There's our TSN insider here. It's brought to you by the Cooperators. They can build a plan that works for you. Cooperators, invest in your future together.
He's got an interesting take that the Rider defense is, to him, the reason for the slow starts is that if the pressure's not there, then teams are getting a chance to like roll out their 15 scripted plays or do whatever they're doing. And without that pass rush, guys like Roland Milligan, who he thinks teams aren't scared of him this year, according to Farhan, that there could be more there. I don't know that I've heard that take or that I even thought of that take. Because, slow start, blame the offense.
I haven't.
Slow start, blame the offense. 2 and out, or a 3-play drive, 4-play drive. Then we go, and the defense comes out and usually does what they do. But it's an interesting take. And Farhan watches a lot of football. And
BC getting ready for fall football in the prairies, practicing in balaclavas and
that guy he was talking about, the dude who played 4 or 5 years in the NFL, he's like a bigger AJ Ouellette. And it wasn't last game, it was the game before. He got a lot of touches because Butler was down. And I'm like, this guy's a load. Because he's got speed, but he's got size. He's built like AJ, but he's taller. And he was just running like a tank. He was just running over Stampeder defenders.
Quickly on the chat line here, if you're just tuning in, Campbell Fair is going to be kicking for the Riders Friday in Ottawa. Brett Lawther will not be. DB on the YouTube chat, I'm not sure if that's DB Cooper. Love that story, by the way. It's really a shame about Brett. No issues with leg strength. Seems to be planting foot consistency is the issue, and confidence. Hope he can get his mojo back. Yeah. Confidence would be the biggest thing for a kicker.
I don't know about the plant foot. All I remember is when they used to do the Wendy's kick to win for what was it, $50,000, and you'd see average humans try and go out and kick a field goal like 15, 20 yards, and just how easy. And if you've ever tried to kick a football, you know how easy it is to botch. What you see on TV is not easy to accomplish, let alone from 56 yards with 12 other dudes, coming straight at you. So confidence, yes. I don't know, plant foot. I don't have the technical knowledge to know if there's a plant foot issue there.
Thanks, DB. Good message. We also got one from Gary in Winnipeg sending us screenshots on what's on sale at the grocery store, thinking that we might like it since we're Ukrainian. We'll get to. They're not a sponsor, so we can't get into that. We got to take a break. Colson's telling us we got a break, and now I'm hungry. It is the Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com, and we're on the home of the Riders, Pats, and Rams, 620 CKRM.